Hey everyone, Carly here with Garden Design, and today we're going to talk a little bit about ferns. I personally love ferns because they add a great deal of character into your home with just one plant, a little pop of color and a lot of texture with just that one single fern. And they've evolved for over 140 million years during the Cretaceous period, so it's kind of like having a little fossil inside of your own home. So that's another neat fact about them. But because they've been around for so long, we have tons of different variations that you can pick from. They come in blue-gray hues and also vibrant pops of green. And you have delicate textures in the maidenhair ferns, and then you have more of that bold and chunky look like the staghorn or the bird's nest fern or like the kangaroo's paw that we have here. So they are easy to grow as a house plant as long as you're following a few simple guidelines. We like to say keeping them humid and happy is always the best rule of thumb. They like moisture in their soil and also humidity in the air. So as long as you're following those guidelines, they should be thriving inside of your home. It's easy to keep them in places that are naturally humid, like bathrooms or laundry rooms or even kitchens. And if you want to move them into your bedroom or a living room or a sunroom, just make sure you're paying a little bit extra attention to them and maybe spritzing them with a spray bottle in addition to your weekly watering routine. So ferns take a little bit less sunlight than what you might be used to with your normal houseplant. They actually thrive best in bright, indirect sunlight. I would suggest keeping them away from window sills or anything that might be too hot for the direct sunlight, because that can tend to yellow or burn the fronds, so you want to stay away from that. Also, I would keep them away from anything that's going to dry out the atmosphere, like any sort of heat vents or fireplaces, just so that we can ensure that it's nice and moist in the air. And then also for temperature, you want to keep them around a cool 70 degrees. If you're comfortable, your ferns will be comfortable. Not too hot, not too cold. Nice 70 degrees, and they'll be perfectly in the right environment to thrive. So now we're going to jump into planting the ferns here. What we're going to do is we have a self-watering reservoir here that we're going to fill up with water. And that's nice because it keeps the ferns nice and moist. All right, so now we're going to fill in the bottom of our reservoir. Like I mentioned, it's a self-watering container, so that makes it nice and easy. We'll add some water just to the bottom, and then we'll top it off with some soil for the ferns. And this is just some indoor potting mix. Now we're going to add in our ferns. And you'll want to break up the bottom so that the roots are nice and loose when you're putting it into the soil. And then we have our delicate ferns here. You can arrange them as you see fit, but I'm going to put 2 on this side and even it out on the other side as well. All right, and then we're going to pack it in nicely with some more potter's mix. All right, so now that we have our ferns potted to your liking, we'll go ahead and finish it off with some top dressing. And I have chosen to go with the moss just because I think it looks a little bit more natural. You can also choose gravel, but I like the moss just to stick with that nice vibrant green color. And you'll just put it in around the plants to help the arrangement look nice and tidy and also keep in the moisture for these ferns. So I did mention that this is a self-watering container, but we're still going to want to water it in so that the root system can get down into that reservoir. And if you don't have a self-watering container, you'll still want to water it for every few days for the first couple weeks, and then you can pull back to every 4 to 6. You can also measure it with this meter here to check and see if the soil is damp. Remember that the ferns are going to like damp soil but not wet soil. So we're gonna go ahead and water it in, and you can always add some liquid fertilizer to your water. And you can also use indoor potting spikes as well for fertilizer. And like I mentioned, ferns do like a lot of moisture, so we're gonna go ahead and spritz it with a spray bottle here. And just remember, as I mentioned before, if it is in that more humid climate, you can tend to it a little bit less. And if it's in a setting that's a little bit drier, just go ahead and add on with the spray bottle in addition to your watering routine. You can always check the soil and see how you need to be watering as necessary. And be sure to let us know about your experience in our comments section below. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button. Thanks so much.